name is Dalisha. I am a PhD student in the Personal Financial Planning Program here at Mizzou. So I don't actually work at the Office for Financial Success. The director who was supposed to be here today got called for jury duty, so I got called for you guys. So, but I'm here for you guys. If you have questions, you can Google me, find me. And the Office for Financial Success is a very helpful resource here on campus. Great free service for students. So we're going to talk about budgeting. So now that you've gotten your refund checks from the cashier's office, what are you going to do with it? So most importantly, successful money management involves making wise decisions every single day. So that 50 cents or $1 that you put in a Coke machine, the Starbucks trip, the smoothie upstairs at the student center, really good, but they're like $5 a piece. So it kind of adds up really quickly. So it's making those wise financial decisions every day. Coordinating your decisions with your needs and goals. So let's say you are a social work major or an elementary education major. You're going to come out of college and your first job is not going to be making a whole lot of money. So you have to be very careful at how you spend your financial aid so that you don't rack up $100,000 in debt to come out of college making $30,000 a year or less. So you have to be really careful in making sure that your needs and goals kind of line up. Okay? And then limit or eliminate the use of credit. Again, making sure that you're very careful with what you spend. Credit cards can get you in trouble very, very quickly. I know that saving an extra 15% when you open a charge account at the store at the mall, it sounds really good, but every time you do that, you're dinging on your credit score, you're racking up debt, you still have to pay for it. So just be very careful and make sure that those brand new awesome boots are really worth it. So budgeting, your number one wealth budgeting tool is your income. So you can't spend more than you make, right? You shouldn't, because then you're going to go in debt even further. So making sure that you know exactly what your income is for the semester, in this case for the month, whether you work or not, or you're getting money from home, wherever your funds are coming from to pay for your college education. You make sure you know what that income is. And then the best way to harness that power of income is to budget it. Know where the income's coming from, know what your expenses are. And it's just to help you stretch your paycheck. If you know what your income is and you know what your expenses are, then you know how to stretch that paycheck every little penny that's in your paycheck. So why is budgeting important? You need to track your income and expenses. So how many of you have a checking account? Yeah, okay, sorry, you're eating. So if you have a checking account, you probably got a little transaction register with your checking account when you opened your account. We used to call those check registers because, back in the day, we used to just write checks and make deposits. Well, now you have a debit card. So now we call it a transaction register because you need to write every little thing in that transaction register to keep track of what you're spending and what income you're coming in, what deposits you're making. Because if you're not keeping track of it, you can very easily go in the hole. I've seen it happen many times. This will help you identify problem spending areas. When you're keeping track of those transactions, every week update that transaction register and know where your money's going. You can even put it on an Excel spreadsheet. That's what I do. It does the math for me. It's great. You can identify where maybe you're spending a little too much money eating out when you could save money by cooking at home. You build confidence in managing your personal finances. So if you have a handle on your budget, you have a handle on your income and expenses, then you know when you go out shopping that, I really can't afford to get the new awesome pair of boots for winter. All right, I'm a 1 and out. Freedom to spend money how you want to. You know where you can spend it, you know where you need to save. Fewer fights about money. One of the major causes in relationship struggles is money. One person in a relationship wants to spend money on toys and electronics. Somebody else wants to spend it going shopping, clothes, and trips and things. So you have to be able to find that middle ground and meet in the middle. So if you know where your money's coming from and know where it's going, we'll have fewer fights about money. And you can tell your money where you want it to go. Just have control over your situation, over your financial situation. And it just allows you to reach your financial goals. At some point down the road, you're going to want to retire after you get the great job right out of college. You're going to work for a while. and you're gonna retire. Some of you may have parents who are retired or getting ready to, and it's all about planning your income and expenses throughout a lifetime to make sure that you can meet those goals down the road. Really cool quote: millionaires became millionaires by budgeting and controlling expenses, and they maintain their affluent status in the same way. So think of the wealthiest person you might know or think of, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett. These guys didn't get rich overnight by spending frivolously. They've budgeted, and yeah, they've made some good investments, some good business decisions, but they budgeted along the way, and they still maintain that idea of it. So how to make your budget work. I've got for you, Dion printed these great little budget sheets, personal budget sheet that you should all have. And it's a great way to help you track your expenses and create your budget. So know your income, and at the top it just says income and money from home. So if your parents are giving you money.
Can I interject? Is there anyone who doesn't have a sheet that we need to give? One, two.
Okay. Just raise your hand and she will come around and give it to you. So money from home, money from savings. If you're working over the summer, put that money in savings so that you have funds to pay your bills, student loans, grants, all that stuff. Everywhere that you get money from. Income, even if mom and dad are putting money in your checking account each month, that's income to you. So make sure you write that down and categorize that. And then just keeping up with your regular monthly expenses. So if you keep up, make your budget right here, and then maybe over on the other side, off to the side, make a column, actual expenses. So for a month or two, make a copy of it, and for a month or two, keep up with what you're actually spending. Then you can make some adjustments and know where your money's coming from, know where it's going. So determine your basic, fixed, and variable expenses. And these are categorized here. So fixed expenses would be things like your rent, your car payment, insurance, things like that that are the same every single month. And then variable expenses are those that change, your food. Sometimes cell phone plans change depending on if you go over your limits or data plan or things like that. So whatever fluctuates, that's going to be the variable expenses. Plan for emergencies. How many of you have a car? Okay. Transmission can go out, can blow a tire, air conditioner goes out here. So those are emergencies. And if you're paying those bills, you've got to find money to come up with and to pay for those things. Medical emergencies. Trip and fall, walking out of the building today and break your leg. There's some expenses for that. So those are emergencies. Plan for irregular expenses. Those are things like mom and dad's birthday, your best friend, you want to go out to dinner for your birthday, holiday presents, anything that's irregular but you know you're going to spend money on it. Books for tuition, books for school, things like that. So you know that you've got to plan for those things. So add them all up and divide by 12, and you know how much you have to save each month to spread those expenses out. Spend your money on paper before you spend it. So that just means you're going to keep your little budget, and you're going to know where it's going to come from. The back has a little budget worksheet too. Neat stuff here. And then follow your spending plan and review it monthly. Very, very important. If you don't track and review your expenses, then you don't know what you're doing wrong when you run out of money at the end of the month. So as you keep track of those things, it will help you down the road. And make sure your budget balances. Unlike the national government, we want to make sure we balance our budget. So really neat little video.
How to set a budget and stick to it. Nowadays, I know, it is not easy keeping your hard-earned cash in your wallet, even when you're trying to be responsible, right? I mean, we've all got a variety of need-to-have expenses like a mortgage, car repairs, and college tuition to pay for. I mean, never mind the like-to-have expenses, that you want to treat yourself to once in a while, like a new pair of cool high tops or those fancy designer jeans. So I'm sure your question is, how do you keep all those things from chipping away at your bank account? Well, no matter who you are or what you're spending your money on, you could probably use a budget, especially when the average household spends 80% of its annual income on a range of necessary expenditures, which includes almost 60% on housing, food, gas, and insurance alone. Now, that's a lot to pay for, right? I mean, so then how can you ensure you're being as smart with your money as you can be? Well, by creating a budget. It's the tool you need to help you stretch your paycheck as far as it'll go. And now all it takes is just a little bit of discipline, planning, and most importantly, prioritization. While creating a budget may seem overwhelming at first, I know, believe me, the time you spend putting it together, that's going to certainly be worth it when the process of paying your monthly bills becomes a little less stressful. So, where do you start? Well, setting a goal is always a good place to begin. It gives you something to shoot for. And then, of course, making a plan, that's going to set you in motion. So, here's how to do that in 6 easy steps. Step 1, know your income. Seems simple enough, right? But knowing how much you can spend each month starts with knowing how much you take home. That means you can't build your budget based on your salary. I mean, it should be based on your net income. So get out some pay stubs and see what you're clearing after taxes, insurance, 401k contributions, and other stuff like that. Step 2, determine your basic expenses. Figure out what your fixed expenses are every month. Now these are the things that don't fluctuate or change dramatically through the year, like like rent or mortgage payments, good old car payments and insurance, student loans. This is also a good time to make sure you have some kind of safety net to help pay for these expenses in case of an emergency. Like, let's say you need a new water heater or your car needs a new transmission. There you go. So if you have a safety net established, great. If not, there happens to be a video on this site called Easy Ways to Save on Everyday Expenses, and that can help you find some extra money to put towards that savings. Step 3, determine expenses that vary each month. These are the things that change based on usage, like your phone and other utilities, as well as your grocery bill. That could change. You could also add up all those flexible expenses like clothes, those jeans, restaurant meals, entertainment costs. These are the costs that you have control over. Step 4, determine what's really important. When it comes to creating a budget that works, you have to take a really hard look at what you feel is truly necessary. As much as you'd like to think you can't live without the latest gadget, this type of expense should go into the like to have category. So if you want to find the fluff in your budget, start digging into your variable expenses and rank what's most important to you. I mean, do you really need unlimited texting on your cell phone? If not, get rid of it. Are you watching all 437 channels of cable? No? Downgrade to basic. For more simple tips that, can help you save, check out that video I mentioned, Easy Ways to Save on Everyday Expenses. Because if you follow some of the tips there, you could save hundreds of dollars each year. Yes, hundreds. Step 5, follow your spending and review monthly. You want to give your budget a fighting chance, right? So just keep an eye on your wallet, and especially those credit cards, to make sure you're spending within limits throughout the month. It's easy to forget, right? And even easier for the small things to start adding up. So keep on it. Step 6, keep track. Find a way that works for you to keep track of your expenses. That can mean the old pen and paper, spreadsheet, or one of those new fancy, fun budgeting apps. A lot of banks have these as part of their online banking. They're easy to find and use, so be sure to look for them. Then you just balance your budget. Keep your income information current and track your actual expenses monthly. After a few months, you're going to start to see patterns and figure out where you can streamline and make adjustments. Now, if you don't want to go it alone, if you're like a little company, there are some sites all over the internet to help you analyze what you have coming in and what you're spending. And if you're the pen and paper type like myself, or even the computer spreadsheet type, check the links at the end of the video in the What to Do Now section, where you can access a handy budget worksheet. It's great. All in all, making a budget is a process that will take some time and effort. But put these steps into place, and what you'll get in return is well worth it. Trust me. You might relieve some anxiety over your bills and feel better about yourself and where your income is going. Not so bad, right? Put them into everyday practice, and before long, you could have more money for the things you want, like high tops, in addition to the things you need.
So kind of wrap up everything about budgeting and the great tips and tricks to making sure that you've budgeted throughout the semester and each month in between. One thing I want to point out, Susan talked about you getting that refund check and using it to pay your expenses throughout the semester. Make sure that you remember that if you don't live on campus, the university doesn't pay your rent for you. So this is something I ran into last semester with one of my students, where you have to write the check for your rent at your apartment or your fraternity or sorority house or wherever it is you live. The university's not going to pay that bill for you. So if you're not in the campus dorm, make sure you remember that you have to write that check. And apartments may offer you a discount for paying in full for the semester. Fraternities and sororities, great idea, pay in full for the semester. And you don't have to worry about it, it's done, it's paid for. So that's about it. If you're overwhelmed or confused, you can always go to the Office for Financial Success. It's a service of the Personal Financial Planning Department, and located at 162 Stanley Hall. So just the other side of Memorial. So there you go. Lots of stuff. The website, I'm trying to hurry up here, I know I'm out of time.
You're out of time, you're good.
Oh, am I good? Okay, well, one-on-one counseling services for financial counseling on budgeting and credit and payment, student loans, clearly taxes. Really cool thing in the spring, they do the voluntary income tax assistance program, VITA, and so you can go in and get your tax return done for free. So it's really neat. They do that in the spring every year. And then the ofsmizzou.org is the website for more information. Questions?
What the hours that you're in that office?
The office is open just normal business hours. So
8 to 5.
8 to 5, yeah.
What do you play for, like, different things like emergencies and regular studies? How would you separate that without having separate accounts or?
You know, if you have a savings account at your bank or an online, I actually have an online savings account for my personal stuff, and so when I get my refund check from my financial aid, that's where it goes, so that it's extra funds in case I need that, or go ahead and just pay it off if I know that I'll just go ahead and pay back through the month. But I'm in a little different situation than most of you guys, so but just keeping that, yeah.
Because one I do is a savings account, and that's my emergency funds that I would tap into in case of anything. So that's how I handle my savings account. You have the traditional savings that you're saving indefinitely, but for me, that's my emergency funds.
And you know, if you're saving for irregular expenses or a possible emergency, or you know you're going to have new tires on your car. I drive an SUV, and the last time I put tires, it was like $900. It's a lot of money. But if you know that's something that may be coming up, then you can just divide that over 12 months and just kind of put that money into savings. So you might keep an extra ledger. If you keep your check register or your transaction register on a spreadsheet, you might have a different tab that says savings account, and then what category you're saving for, so that you can kind of keep it separate in mind where those funds are. And you know, if you've already spent $100 on gifts this year, and that was your budget for the whole year, then you know maybe you just have to get your best friend a card. So, or cooking dinner. Any more questions?
But Dalisha checked, you know, sorry, you had a question?
Oh, I came in late on that, so I was just wondering, you have something just to get you started, like, it's really overwhelming to figure out where all
Did you
these
get the
It
budget
is.
sheet?
Yeah. Here, I've got it.
Okay.
Here you go. It's a great little budget sheet there, and the Office for Financial Success is great to help you get started. I'm an Excel junkie. My whole life is on an Excel spreadsheet. I mean, I make a grocery list on my spreadsheet sometimes, you know. So it's just, it just helps categorize things for me and keep things straight. And you've got more resources.
For those of you who that one sheet of paper is just not, you're gonna lose that by the end of the day. That spreadsheet is also accessible on Missouri, offcampus.missouri.edu. It's also in our off-campus living guide. So the back and front, there are 2 spreadsheets that are available here. So if you think you're gonna lose that sheet of paper, feel free to grab a guide a lot more information in here just about living off campus, how to make it work, transportation, utilities, almost everything you can think of is in this guide. Thank you so much to our presenters. Thank you guys. There are a few more information sessions we have scheduled for the entire semester. They are listed on our website. We're going to do one on affordable housing. What does that look like for the next semester? We're going to do one on attorney's advice for renters. And so as you guys are living off campus and you're paying rent, we're going to bring in an attorney to give you some advice, just to make sure you don't get taken advantage of and you know your rights and responsibilities. Kim?
You know, one thing I would add is all of you likely have roommates. Those of you who live off campus have roommates, and there are certain bills that are based on all of you doing something, like your water bill or your electricity or whatever. I really encourage you to sit down and have a good conversation with them about how you're going to divide up those expenses and how you're going to, like I was just talking to somebody today who, you know, their utilities were a whole lot more in August than they were used to. So one of the roommates was all upset about it, and so it's creating a roommate conflict. So what I suggest is they sit down and talk about, well, you know, in August it's going to be a little hotter than it might be another month, so we might have used a little more, but let's work together to make sure our lights are off, that we are, you know, we turn up the AC when we leave and turn it back down when we come home. Little things like that, but it isn't all just you. It could be a lot of those things, you know, or the food, you know, making dinners. Are you all going to make your own dinners, or are you going to chip in together and make dinners together? All those kinds of things could help you save money, or it could be the opposite. It could cost you a lot of money. So just have good conversations with your roommates so that you try to create win-win situations.
Thank you, Kim. Thank you. I just went ahead and pulled up our website. We have a click here for upcoming events, so you can see all the events that we have just for you guys. Thank you so much for coming. We have a lot more of these sessions. We are available around the room for questions. We have quite a few financial aid representatives in the back. And so we are here if you have follow-up questions. Thank you.